In the previous episode, following months of produce-related flirting,
Dirty, yes, I know.
secondary characters Sookie and Jackson decided to finally go out on a date. Unfortunately, the side effect of two very socially awkward people arranging a relationship does result in a long stretch of time before they find any sort of plan, which has led things being quite uncomfortable for them as they see each other on a regular basis.
But since there was no definite plan or date attached, no, the invitation is just out there floating in the universe.
Fortunately, Lorelai steps in to help Sookie see sense and actually arrange something,
You think I should ask him out?
On Sunday.
Why Sunday?
Because it's your day off.
Okay.
which goes well for Sookie but less so for Lorelai, as Jackson's cousin Rune is staying with him at the suggested time.
Oh, well then just make it next week.
Yes. See, that would have been a good option had I thought of it when I was on the phone. We double date with his cousin Rune and you.
What?
Despite just coming out of a relationship and really not being interested, Lorelai realises just how important this date is for Sookie and decides to go along with it. As a result, Sookie gets majority of the focus in this particular episode, with Lorelai somewhat taking a back seat, which honestly I'm really glad about. I like the fact that we're starting to get more plots that allow the secondary cast more time in the spotlight, and especially for Sookie, as Melissa McCarthy is a really underrated actor, and especially a lot of the content she's made after Gilmore Girls, she's very much looked down upon, and it's not really fair, especially when you see her in this.
You look pretty. I do? Oh, thank you. I should cancel. But what if tonight is a disaster and then he won't sell to me anymore?
And since all the produce in the entire world is in his possession, then we will never again be able to get any produce and all of our vegetarian clients will die.
Jackson and Rune arrive to pick them up, and unfortunately for Lorelai, Rune is incredibly unpleasant.
What are you doing? That's Lorelai? I mean, God, I can't believe you set me up with that. What, was the bearded lady busy tonight or something?
The least you could do is go out for one night. Make some conversation. Be pleasant. Who knows, maybe you'll even enjoy it.
So much so that he doesn't even feign any sort of niceties and is just straight up honest about how much he considers Lorelai to be unattractive. Which is pretty ironic given that this episode itself states,
She's a babe, man.
on the actual date in a relatively fancy restaurant, he doesn't bother taking off his hat, his coat, his scarf, he just sits there staring at Lorelai, making her uncomfortable. And as things are awkward enough for Sookie and Jackson, Sookie tries to avoid him as much as possible, instead trying to focus on Lorelai.
Let's go powder our noses.
I need a lot of powder.
I'm not the one going home with you, so I would concentrate on the one who might. What? You haven't said a word to Jackson all night.
Realising that this situation isn't going very well, Lorelai decides to take them to a more sociable and comfortable place, that being of course Luke's.
4 menus, 1 coffee, and an anvil, please.
What's the anvil for?
For Rune.
What's a rune?
He is, believe it or not, even less thrilled with the matchup than I am.
You're kidding, why?
I'm too tall.
You can get all the stuff from the top shelf.
Exactly. That is exactly what I bring to a relationship. Explain that to him.
Rune continues to be even more irritating, demanding that Jackson leave and focus on him instead.
I want to go.
Don't go.
Really?
We haven't really even started our date yet.
Sorry, Rune, you're on your own tonight.
This gives us one of the best moments between Luke and Lorelai.
First I gotta watch a man walk out on you, then I have to watch you eat alone. 5-card draw.
Oh, you're on. That is an exceptionally good batch of coffee.
I added a little nutmeg.
Really?
Yes.
That's very Richard Simmons of you.
In fact, it's so good that Luke has the confidence to just straight up ask Lorelai out on a date.
God, that's nice.
Yeah.
The whole first date, beginning of the relationship glow.
You know, maybe sometime we could...
But unfortunately, he's cut off by this episode's other main plot, with Mrs. Kim arriving to confront Lorelai about the disappearance of her daughter Lane.
They said they were going to a movie.
With who?
They were going to meet Dean.
A boy?
Backtracking to earlier in the episode, Lane coming off of her embarrassing ordeal in episode 8, decides to ask Rory if she'll get Dean to arrange a date with his best friend.
You want me to set you up with Todd? Yes. And I was thinking that you and Dee could come out with us so that it's not that big of a deal. Look, I made a mistake with Rich Blumenfeld. Everyone's allowed one mistake. I just really don't know this Todd guy. I do. You've met him twice. But the third time's a charm.
Sadly, though, her date doesn't go particularly well. While he is pretty dumb, he's not as unpleasant as Rune.
You must have a favorite movie.
Yes, I do.
Great. What is it?
Beethoven. Oh, man, it's classic. I shot my Dr. Pepper right out of my nose.
Unfortunately, this date was done without the knowledge of either Mrs. Kim or Lorelai, so naturally the two mothers are pretty annoyed at their daughter's behaviour. More so Mrs. Kim, of course. The following day, Rory goes to see Lane as she is unfortunately grounded, though she's not too upset about the situation, as thankfully going on the date made her realise that that person wasn't right for her. Lorelai visits Luke, and unfortunately, since they were cut off, he's lost his confidence and decides ultimately not to ask her out at this point, which I do think is a bit frustrating. I think a lot of the early will they won't they stuff they did with Luke and Lorelai in season 1, because their chemistry is so good, sometimes the stretching it out does feel a bit arbitrary. Before we wrap up this episode, I'd just like to briefly talk about a detail it introduces in regards to Lorelai's character. As I believe this is the first time it's established that Lorelai is attending business school in order to get the qualifications she needs in order to open up her own inn. While she is often considered to be a quite immature character, this is one of the elements which shows that she is mature in some capacities and is prepared to do what is needed in order to fulfill her dream, showing that her job aspect is very serious, even if she does procrastinate about having to do her work.
How important is this whole business school thing anyway? I mean, so what if I never run my own inn? Walmart is boring.
Study.
And so ends Double Date. A welcome shake-up where we get to see some of the secondary characters take on a more lead role, with the likes of Rory and Lorelai, well, more so Rory, taking a background role in the episode. And I appreciate this is something that is going to continue and become more prominent, as it gives us more variety for story opportunities. While I'm not too happy about how it ends, I really like the stuff they do with Luke and Lorelai in this episode and showing the romantic chemistry between the two of them more prominently than in other episodes. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, like and comment, find and follow me on Twitter here, and I'll see you for the next episode. Concert Interruptus.
You're baiting me, aren't you?
No, I seriously have no faith in your attitude.